of you is Captain Blue?
I am Captain Blue. No. I am Captain Blue.
Heyday.
Captain Blue, I'm your servant, my dear. Captain Brazen, I'm yours.
Now, that was a scene, or that's a play that gives great scope for comic invention. What I'm trying to get at is how much is you and how much was the director?
An awful lot of that was William Gaskell.
Yes.
Who, I found a very important director for me. That was the first play I did at the National Theatre. And I found that the way Bill worked has always been useful to me in the way I start working. He would break rehearsals down. The most valuable thing, he sometimes got people to play other parts. It's a sort of strange thing that you forget when you're acting, that the other person has got probably more problems than you have. And the moment you swap parts round, you immediately see their problems and think, oh, I see why that bit is difficult, you know.
How did you begin in the theatre? Did you act at school at all?
The very first definite step was when I was still at school. They had a frightfully good thing that when you'd finished, you know, general school certificate, you usually had about 2 weeks at the end of term, which was kind of dead time. And I immediately went to the Oxford Playhouse, where indeed I got a job, which was for 2 weeks, to be in The Happiest Days of Your Life, to play the Scots girl, you know, Elizabeth Cahoon. And this was immediately trodden on, and I wasn't allowed to do it. So then I decided to go to drama school. I mean, I'd made up my mind to do that anyway before I left school. And they started a drama school in Oxford, where I live. And it was attached at that time to the Playhouse. And I went there for 2 years. I wanted very much to go to RADA. I mean, it was everybody's dream to go to RADA, and my parents, I suppose quite rightly, didn't want me to go to London when I was 16 and live on my own.
And from drama school you went where?
When I was at the Playhouse, I used to work in university productions, because they did an awful lot of them there. And they did lots of cabarets and revues, and they were all sort of run by Ned Sherrin, Desmond O'Donovan, people like that. And I did those endlessly. And, you know, if you were bright enough at Oxford, you could almost do weekly rep round the colleges. You could get enough productions to do a term to keep you very busy.
And you were playing light parts, comedy parts?
Yes, always.
Review.
I was always in review and cabaret. I don't know why. No, I did do Twelfth Night for Alds. I suppose that was one of the earliest things I did. And then playing Viola. And then the reviews that I was in were taken up to Edinburgh, and we did fringe productions. I think we were sort of about the first fringe shows up there.
It was through one of those late night reviews that you got the mythical break.
The break. Yes, it was in one of them we did on the Fringe, and they brought down to London, to the Watergate, which doesn't exist anymore, the Watergate Theatre. I can't remember which one it was called now. I think it was Oxford 8 or one of those things, which was seen by the American director who then took me to Broadway, you know. It was called New Faces.
And was it successful?
It was moderately successful, yes. I mean, it was rather sad because everybody in it expected it to be a huge success, as the one before had been, and obviously it wasn't. And everybody who went into it thought, oh, we're going to come out stars, you know, because...
Did you think that?
I don't know what I think. I was so overwhelmed at the thought of going. In actual fact, I didn't enjoy it at all, but I was so excited by it. I mean, I thought anything could happen. I suppose I must have thought I would come back a great, huge star.
And then you came back to London?
I came back for a holiday, actually. But then I did a television here called Boy Meets Girl, which Silvio Narizzano directed. And also Michael Codron asked me to do Share My Letters with Kenneth Williams. And I decided to stay.
Again, more like comedy. Was this what you wanted to do?
I didn't really want to do it. And yet it became a kind of habit. Everybody thought of me in that way. They thought of me as, you know, always in review or a review artist. And it became absolutely stuck. I don't think I really thought about it very much. I think I was so overwhelmed and so carried away with myself.
At working at all?
At working
Yes.
at all, yes, that I was sort of really rather grateful for that.
Did you know what you did want to do?
I knew I wanted to act. When Lettuce was over, Carlton did want me to do another review with Kenneth Williams, and that was really when the scrunch came. I very much wanted to do it. One part of me wanted to. I suppose I just felt instinctively that it wasn't right. And so I went to try and do an audition with Benthall at the Vic.
Which you got?
Which I got. I mean, I think, in fairness, he was really running out of actors at the time. I mean, I must admit that. I mean, it's very odd that the play he was going to do was a restoration comedy.
Yes.
And so it seemed to be right.
Which was The Double Dealer?
The Double Dealer, yeah.
You, of course, had not played classical parts before. Your entire background and training had been in light review.
Yes, absolutely. And the classical plays I did there, I mean, I tend to go hot and cold when I think of Richard II. I just, really would rather pass out. But I mean, one has to think about it was just awful. I mean, my theory about acting in Richard II then was just to stay up stage and do it very fast and very quietly and hope, nobody would notice.
You must have learned an enormous amount in that season, did you?
Yes, oh yes, I did. Again, you see, it is awful, but again, I was lucky because in the Scots play, in the Barry play...
In which you played the lead, Maggie
yes,
Wiley.
But I was very, my mother is Scots. It was marvellous. It was a marvellous kind of part for me at that time. It had both comedy and pathos and various things.
Now we're going to have a look at a clip from one of your films, The Pumpkin Eater. Now, you play the au pair girl in a rather unconventional household. The mother is played by Anne Bancroft, and you're discussing the merits of her husband, played by Peter Finch. You're discussing his merits as a father.
Wives don't usually like me. I like them, that's the funny thing. I seem to worry them somehow. I don't know, they get so ratty, people's wives. Funny thing is, I like them better than their husbands. Do you think that's funny? Perhaps I'm not normal. I'm sure I'm normal, really. Perhaps it's just I'm abnormal. I can't see how I can be, can you? I mean, I've been told I'm frigid. I don't see how you can tell. I mean, honestly, how can you tell whether you're...
I shouldn't think you are. Just a minute, sir. Anyway, you don't look it.
I think you're marvellous. I really do. I think you're absolutely marvellous. You're so capable. All you do, all the children and everything. The way you cope. Of course, Jake is the most fabulous husband and father. He's the most fabulous husband and...
Can I get it?
Oh, most fabulous husband. How many are his?
Yeah. One.
One. One is his. The others aren't his.
No, they're not.
Still, he's a wonderful father to them all, isn't he?
Do you enjoy filming?
Not very much, no.
Why not?
I don't know, I think you have to be a screen actress. I really don't think I am. I think you have to have a completely different outlook. By the time I get on the floor after 2.5 hours of makeup, I find it impossible. And also the lack of contact, the fact that there isn't an audience, the fact that it's all a question of how you look. That people are always worried, always around you all the time, trying to make you look like this, your costume isn't right. I don't know, I found by the end of the day that one's morale was so low. But maybe the camera is so close that you feel you can't do anything because it will look ugly. You get so concerned with the fact that you're in the wrong light, or if you do that, it's unattractive on the camera and you mustn't do this. You get so inhibited, at least I do, that I tend not to do anything. I always feel that I'm fine in a film if I'm acting a neurotic person or a small, tight, shy person. That's not quite so difficult.
After the Old Vic season, you then